That video was recorded in 2021, and a lot has changed in my life since that time. Now, we'll talk about that in a minute, but there's one thing that hasn't changed, and that's that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And I know that some of you might have rolled your eyes, and I get it. You've heard that verse a million times, and I have too. There are even times in my life where I ended up hating that verse. I got very sad. I wondered if God made a mistake. I asked a bunch of questions. Why didn't I have 5 fingers on each hand? Or why did my feet have to get amputated? Or will I have fingers and toes in heaven? I was sad and I was angry. My stepdad helped me see that I wasn't the only one who got emotional. King David, who wrote Psalms 139, got emotional as well. And here's what he says in verses 19 through 22. If only you, God, would slay the wicked away from me, you who are bloodthirsty. They speak of you with evil intent. Your adversaries misuse your name. Do I not hate those who hate you, Lord? Now that's some pretty strong stuff, and it's like David finally got all of his emotions out, and then he spoke sanity to himself. He closes the psalm with this prayer. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. I've had to learn how to pray that prayer, and it's been hard thinking, search me, oh God, know my heart. Know my heart when I want to lie. Know my heart when I want to be lazy. Know my heart when I want to yell at the referees. Know my heart when I want to give up. And it's a good prayer. I've also had to come to grips with another verse, though, in this psalm. That's verse 16. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Now that word ordained is weird, isn't it? I mean, it sounds like just another one of those church words that we say, but we don't know what it really means. To put it in simple terms, ordained means a king or another authority declares something holy or official. For example, the King of England could declare that a man is now a knight. In this verse, the King of the universe is saying that every day, not just some days, and not just one day, but every single day is set apart, special, and holy. That means today is ordained for you and for me, and that leads me to my next big topic for today, diligence. When I think about the days God created for me, I want to be diligent in them, and I want to make the most of them. So here is my definition of diligence. Now, I'm going to need your help. I'm going to say a phrase, and I need you to say it back to me, all right? Let's try it. Work hard.
Work hard.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
All right, let's do it with a little more enthusiasm. Get a little louder. Work hard.
Work hard.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Now let's do it just a little bit quiet. Like a whisper. Work hard. Don't give up. Great job. Now let's talk a little bit about working hard. I had to work hard before I even knew I was working hard. Now what do I mean by that? I mean, I have one finger on each hand, and when I was in elementary school, I had to learn how to write cursive, and it was hard enough to make my letters, let alone having to learn cursive as well. Actually, do y'all have to learn cursive at all? Some of you? All right. Later today, I want you to try it. I want you to hold a pen or pencil with just your pinkies and try to write. Now that's a silly example, but multiply it by 100. I had to work hard at everything to do just to get through the day. And it didn't help that other kids picked on me. All the kids around me told me all day long all the things I could not do. I mean, like, look at you. You can't even catch a ball. Look at you. You have to be in a wheelchair. Look at you. You can't do anything. And I was bullied, but it pushed me to learn how to do everything. It pushed me how to learn how to cook meals I love to cook now. And it pushed me how to learn to play video games, which was extraordinarily hard because I had to figure out how to use parts of my hands to push the buttons. And I bet I could beat any of you in a game of math. It's truthful. I learned my hardest lesson about diligence in getting ready for the Paralympics, though. I knew that if I was going to make the team, I needed to work hard. I needed to not give up. And I also needed to be diligent if I was going to stay on the team. So I started working out with a trainer, and I wish I could tell you that I worked so hard that they could make a movie about me. But it didn't happen. You know what really happened? I gave up. Over and over again. And I had to start over and over again. But that is diligence too. When you get knocked down, you get up again. When you fail, you try again. That's what I did. And I stayed on the team, and our team brought home a silver medal from the Paris Paralympics of 2024. So let's say our definition again. This time, we'll start with as quietly as we can. Work hard. Don't give up. Now, we talked about working hard, so let's talk a little bit about don't give up. When I was in 4th grade, I did a book report. Raise your hands. How many of you like book reports? So, just the teachers. Cool. Now, raise your hand if you struggle doing book reports. Everybody else. Now, I was in the second category, but I ended up learning so much from reading about the 1924 Olympic gold and bronze medalist Eric Liddell. And by the way, he won his medals in Paris just 100 years before I won mine, also in Paris. So here's a picture of me doing my book report. Now, lots of people, like your parents, know about Eric Liddell because of the movie Chariots of Fire. And it's worth watching sometimes. It's a worthwhile film. But fewer people know about what happened after the Olympics. He became a missionary to China, where I was born, and here is where the diligence comes in, though. He was a missionary in China after the Olympics, but before World War II. He taught students who were about your age. Then, in 1941, the Japanese, who had just attacked Pearl Harbor, took over much of China, including Eric's school. He was able to send his wife and children back to Scotland, but he stayed behind. Then, his school was turned into a prisoner camp, but he didn't give up. Eric was diligent every day to make sure everyone had food and medicine and books, and he would teach classes and play games with the children. The captain of the prison made him run races against guards who, unlike Eric, had not been beaten with sticks and had been able to eat a proper diet. Those who knew him in the camp wrote in their journals words like weary, exhausted, and poured out. When you get tired, do you give up? I struggled with that. I had to learn how to not give up. Eric Liddell remained diligent throughout every day and every night in that prisoner camp. He was diligent. He didn't give up. So let's say our definition again, as quietly as we can. Work hard. Don't give up. Now let's talk about don't give up. I have 2 more things I want to tell you about, and they are very important. But first, I would like to welcome my 3 volunteers and Mrs. Allison to help me out as a timekeeper, because we're going to play a little game.
Do they know who they are, Miss Manhattan? Okay.
Y'all can come up. Don't be scared. Grass stick. Alrighty. So y'all are going to hold the stick and try to balance it on one finger at the base of the stick while looking at your hand. Miss Allison will have a timer for 30 seconds, and we will cheer him on. I have a bet that you won't get past 5 seconds.
3, 2, 1, go.
Y'all can cheer him on.
5 seconds. On the dot.
I won that bet. Yeah, alright. We're going to switch it up though. This time, you're going to do the same exact thing, except you're going to look at the top of the pool. We're going to see if we all can get it. Hold it for 30 seconds.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, he's still going. 19, hey, that's better than anybody else has done it yet.
Yay.
Yeah, it was. All right, thank you all so much. We have some shirts for you for coming up here, so thank you all again. Alrighty. There was a difference that time. And that difference was looking at the top of the stick. Now, I'm sure that all of you are going to go home and grab a broomstick and master this tonight. But looking at the top of the stick is also how diligence works. It's the key. Looking up, you have to look up to Jesus. And you have to trust him for all things, especially the hard things. Think again about Eric Liddell. He looked up while he was a prisoner of war. He wrote a book that was published after his death, and in it he wrote this: "Circumstances may appear to wreck our lives and God's plans, but God is not helpless among the ruins. God's love is still working. He comes in and takes the calamity and uses it victoriously, working out his wonderful plan of love." Now, God is with you. The all-powerful King of the entire universe is with you. So let's say our definition again. Louder. Work hard.
Work hard.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
I know y'all can get louder. Let's be honest. Let's do it again. Work hard.
Work hard.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Now we gotta do it quiet. Now, I'm a big fan of Michael Jordan. Is anybody else in here? Now, we could go on and debate all day about whether Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time, which he is. But no one would say that he's not one of the greatest. Now, I love this quote by him because it shows his diligence and it shows how he doesn't give up. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. Now I'm going to close with one of my favorite quotes. It's a famous quote, and lots of people know it and talk about it, but to be honest, it has a lot of big words in it that I didn't understand when I was your age. Honestly, I don't understand all of them yet. But when we were getting ready to head to Paris for the Paralympics, our coach called us together and he was pretty fired up. I mean, he's an emotional guy, and he told us what he expected of us. He told us what we needed to do, and he reminded us how hard we'd worked to get here. And he shared this quote. This quote was spoken by President Theodore Roosevelt in Paris, France in 1910. Our coach spoke these words to us 114 years later in Paris, France, where the Paralympics were being held just a few miles from the arena where we played our games. He says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. Because there's no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. So that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. President Roosevelt talked about striving valiantly. That means striving with courage, and that is diligence. So remember, be diligent. Look to Jesus, who was diligent to the point of death on the cross for you and me. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you.
Oh, you guys pick it up. Y'all great. Standing ovation. I love that. Great job. I'm taking notes all the time because that's how I learn. But neurodiversity, we're all different. We all learn different ways. These are some things that struck out at me. Thank you. You can sit down. Scott Hamilton, who was a gold medalist. Any of you know what sport Scott Hamilton did? Yes, good, figure skating. But he himself faced diversity. And he talked about this guy right here. He talked about Zion. Here's some words that I love that he described you as. Determination, you can figure that out, right? Resilience. What do you remember Scott Hamilton saying that drove him? When he asked him, what drives you? What did he say? You remember? Friends. Do your friends drive you, middle schoolers? Listen, I see it every day. I see your personalities change depending on the friends you get with. His friends drove him. Do you have a mom that lightly forces you? That made me laugh out loud. His mom lightly forced him to do something hard. Anybody been lightly forced by their mom? Raise your hand. Yeah, I get it. Anybody been forced, not likely to do something? Yeah, I get that too. I have a mom, and I had a mom, and I am a mom. But she lightly forced him to do basketball, and you saw him on the court. What did you notice about basketball players in their wheelchairs? Were they kind and gentle? No, they were pushing everybody out of the way. They were playing their sport. Had his mom not lightly forced him, he probably would have been doing that. I love that. This, he said, there's two things that just stuck with me for you. We just came off a week of God just encountering us with the Lord with some other special speakers. But he said, middle schoolers, there's a light in you. What light are you emitting to people? Is it the light of Jesus like he talked about? It's in him? Is it not the light of Jesus? There's no light that can be brighter than Jesus because he is the light of the world. That light is the other key word he says to me, because in middle school we struggle with this, his attitude. He is successful because of all the things he talked about in his attitude. Thank you so much for challenging us. That was awesome. Walking around at the Olympics with a heavy medal around their neck when they just competed and probably so tired. But we appreciate it. All right, guys, I hope you have the best afternoon. And listen,